Guys, it's me, Shaw360, and I'm here to do the reviews for episodes 7 and 8 of Uncontrollably Fond for the Drama Club. But I want to warn you ahead of time, if you can't already tell by looking at me, I'm not feeling the best. I suffer from really bad seasonal allergies all season long, but also over the weekend I went to the Shiny fan meet, I screamed my head off, I was extremely dehydrated, and I've taken a little bit ill since then, so I don't sound my best, I'm sorry, and if I make gross noises again, I can't really help it. It's all the drainage and stuff that's going on. But episodes 7 and 8, I have to say there wasn't really as much plot development as I would have liked again, but a lot of emotional development, and definitely some of the machinations of some of our villains of the series are starting to come out. And you know, this is a weird series for me in a way, because I'm very much used to having shows where second lead syndrome is strong, and in this show I feel absolutely no second lead feelings, not a drop of it. And that to me is a very weird place to be in a drama, especially this far along. Usually by about 7 and 8, that's when I really start to see it for the second lead. But this time, no. In fact, I'm kind of half scared of the second lead here, to be totally honest. So to do this review, I'm going to go ahead and talk about each character the way that I kind of rank them in importance, I guess, and instead of going by the storyline, and just tell you kind of how I feel about what they're doing and maybe where I see it going for them. So with Jun Young, you know, of course he's dying. And when you're dying, I guess it's time to prioritize a little bit. So when we last left off with him, he was on the island and he was telling Susie, you know, to get away from him. And at first I'm thinking, yeah, you know that girl don't want you, move on with your life. No, I mean, the show is about these two, so of course he could never really be done with her. But no, he was pushing her away because he knew that as long as she was around, he would never be able to kind of get over her. And at this point, he's thinking, I got 3 months left to live. I want to be happy. You are not going to be able to make me happy if you're not going to accept my love. So, you know, I need you to go far away from me because I am uncontrollably fond of you and I'm going to keep trying to pursue you as long as you are within my realm. And he makes a valiant effort of it. All throughout the island, he's pushing her away. When they get back to shore, he takes a taxi rather than driving a vehicle with her. When he gets to his home by himself, he passes out. And even once he wakes up and she's there cooking for him, he really does try to keep her at arm's length, but she does really cute, adorable things, and you know, he already likes her anyway, and at one point she's straddling him and he's like, you know what, fuck it, you are already on top of me, I want you, girl, I want you. And so after that, he like totally switches tactics, and instead of kind of bullying his way into her heart, he starts to show her like how sweet and cute he can be, what kind of a boyfriend he can be, basically. And he's doing a good job. I mean, she serves him really terrible food, and instead of throwing it up, he eats it, even though it is like super duper salty. But you know, he's trying. So she's at the house, and while he's trying to woo her, and Jitae comes along, and so he goes out to the gate to talk to Jitae, and while he's out there, Noel gets a call from her good girlfriend telling her that the news is out that instead of him actually liking her, he was doing that as a smokescreen for his true relationship with his co-star Kim Yuna. So of course Noel is heartbroken. Jun Young goes to her and is like, that's a lie, that's some bullshit, I don't know that lady like that, we have never dated, I want you, I love you, let me show you, I'm totally telling the truth. And he's being so earnest, and it's almost like a boy cried wolf type of thing, because he is being so earnest, but he had just got through telling her how much he didn't like her earlier, and he's an actor as well, so I mean, he's kind of set up to be disbelieved. And Susie, even though he does give her a kiss and kind of is very earnest about his feelings, she at the same time is like, I've got to protect myself here, you know, that's this type of stuff, this is what you actors are good for. And I've worked behind the scenes as a producer, I've been involved with journalism, I know the mechanics of this business. It makes more sense for you to use me than for you to really love me like this. So after that, she leaves his place, and of course he is like, fuck, what am I gonna do? But not one to be deterred, the very next day he is trying to make it work, and he starts with her brother. He decides to go to her school and buy food, not her school, her brother's school, and buys food for the entire campus. Everybody gets hamburgers, and of course her brother's like, why did you do that? And he's like, because, you know, I know your sister thinks highly of your opinion, so if I can maybe slide the opinion scale in my favor with you, that would be great. Her brother's like, listen, how much did all these burgers cost? $5,000? I'll make sure I send that money back to you eventually. Maybe I'll make installment payments. I'll talk to your manager. Brother's not having it, which good for you. I would have been very upset if her brother could be bought off like that. But yeah, obviously going through the brother wasn't the best move right then. So instead he decides to go directly to the source. He goes to Noel's house and he steps in there, and right as he's going to see her, who shows up but Jite? So they have a little bit of tete-a-tete, him and Jite, a little confrontation, and he calls Jite out on the fact that you've got this bum costume on, but you've also got a rollie, and it's not a fake rollie. That bitch is brand new. What's going on? But Jite gets called away for a family emergency, so Jun Young, of course, follows Susie to the restaurant. While she's in the restaurant, she eats too much because she's avoiding him, because he's waiting for her to finish outside. Well, while she's not looking, he sneaks into the restaurant, and she's like, you know, I'm so full, indigestion. So he kidnaps her from, I won't say kidnaps from a restaurant, but he takes her away from the restaurant, and instead of taking her to a hospital for her indigestion, which, do people really go to hospitals for indigestion? I don't know. Anyway, instead of taking her to a hospital, he takes her to his mother's restaurant and introduces her as the woman he loves to his mother. And of course his mother's like, why are you wasting my time with this bull? Even though really and truly, secretly, I think his mother has been curious about this girl. And of course, like, you're not good enough for my son, because his mom's got these really weird expectations. But when Noelle keeps professing that, you know, I'm gonna stay away from your son. I know I'm not worthy. I know that this is all some big joke that he's got cooked up. I promise you, I'm not gonna pursue him. You know, I know that we're two different worlds. I think at that point the mom kind of sees a little bit of herself in Noelle, and she eases up a little bit and decides to do the acupuncture to help Noelle with her indigestion. After that, Jun Young has a conversation with Uncle about, you know, mom and the girlfriend thing and all that stuff, and, you know, whether or not she's a gold digger. And Jun Young talks to his mom and tells his mom, you know, listen, I like this girl, and I promise you that if I'm with this girl, I'm not going to do you the way that my father did you. I'm going to stay with her until the very end, I promise. And of course, you know, I'm just like, oh, so good, so good. So eventually, I guess he drops her off at her house, and while they're in front of the house, he tells Noelle about the fact that, you know, growing up, his mother was a single mother, and he didn't have a father in his life, and, you know, the circumstances around that, and all the things his mother had to do in order for them to survive. And he's like, see? Don't take this whole celebrity thing as proof of who I am. I'm telling you who I am. I'm telling you where I came from so you can understand we're very similar. Don't push me away because of this whole celebrity mystique. And she hears what he has to say, but she doesn't really give him the response he's looking for. But then later on that night, he gets a call from her to meet her, I guess, by the river, by the bridge. I'm not sure. He goes out to meet her because he's like, she called me. And that's got to be a good sign that she's asking me to come to her. Shows up there, and just as he's walking to go see her with this huge puppy dog grin on his face, an attack comes. And while the attack is kind of blurring his vision and he's trying to make it to her, you know, his smile is fading, but he tells himself, you know what, God, if you thought that this was going to keep me from her, you've got another thing coming. I'll fight till the end to be with this woman. And he gives her a huge embrace, and, you know, it just, I don't want him to die. I don't want him to die. I really, really don't. I love him so much. But yeah, I think that Woo Bin, I've never seen him in like a series drama. I've only ever seen him in the movie 21, I think. Or 20, I'm not sure. But he is really doing a great job to me of playing his role. I mean, he definitely can be a jerk when he wants to be a jerk. But when he turned into this sweet character, I totally believed him. And I felt like that transition came so fast. But he really pulled it off for me. And I really enjoyed that about him. So I really enjoyed watching him act. Now, Noelle, Susie's character, she's kind of like a ping pong ball, if you will. Like, she's being batted back and forth between these men, and she really hasn't taken the reins on how she wants to feel about things. I mean, she tried to stand up for herself with Jun Young when it came to, you're using me as a prop to kind of hide your relationship with Kim Yuna. But at the same time, later on, I think that while she's trying to be self-preserving, I think about the way she keeps falling after Mr. And that to me that's not strength. That's more weakness, because she tells herself at one point, she asked Mr. to go to the noodle restaurant with her, or to meet her at the noodle restaurant, and she's sitting there waiting for him for about an hour for him to show up at this noodle restaurant, and she tells herself, I needed you to be here to tell me not to pursue him. So, I mean, she's not making these decisions for herself. She's like, well, if this guy won't take me, I'll go with that guy. That's what it seems like almost. And I would rather her want to be with Jun Young because she's fulfilling her own fantasy. Because she liked him way back when they were in high school. So, this not like her feelings come out of nowhere. But definitely, I don't want her to do it because this other guy rejected her. Or because, she just can't help it or whatever. So, Noah's character, a little weak. Susie's acting, I think it's okay. I think as her character is given more strength, or is written to have more strength, Susie will show more strength. But right now, she's playing this character who's kind of in between, so I think that's why her acting is kind of wishy-washy, because her character really hasn't made up her mind what she wants to do, what role she wants to play in this romance. Now, Jitae, let's talk about him. Boy, is this guy sitting on a whole bunch of secrets. He's sitting on his twin identities of Hyunwoo and Jitae. And he almost got caught because Noel's brother Jik showed up at the hostel looking for him, which of course he doesn't live there. He lives at home in his mansion. And, almost got his story told. But he is still trying to keep Noel away from Jun Young for obvious reasons. He watched the whole car accident thing, so I know he thinks he's a pain. But at the same time, you won't be with her. You're not going to stay by her side. You're not going to try to date her. You're not going to bring her home to your family, and you can't continue to kind of pull this woman away from what you think is a bad relationship if you're not offering her an alternative, And especially after she's declared how much she likes you, you know that your presence is probably going to be painful for her. So why do you keep kind of dangling yourself out there as this perfect friend, but you're not willing to go that extra step when you know it's something that she wants and it's something that you want? But, he's got all these secrets that he's trying to maintain. He's trying to maintain some kind of equitable balance with Jungin as well, the assemblyman's daughter, which she is a fox. She is a fox. She thought she was going to catch him up on his attendance of the Jun Young concert. And he said, no, I know you saw me there. I know you're trying to track this PD. No. And I'm telling you who she is, where she comes from. Leave her alone. Jun Young says, do you like her? And of course, Jitae's like, yeah, I like her. Because, he's weird and he doesn't know how to lie good. So, of course, Jungin throws the wine in his face. He just sits there, and instead of trying to get a napkin and clean up himself or maybe, wring out his tie, he grabs the wine glass, drinks what's left in it, and then overfills another wine glass. Okay, you're being a little psycho here, buddy. You're a little unstable. Well, the next day, he's at work, and his assistant's like, listen, buddy, I've been with you on your shenanigans. I've helped you find information on this one and that one, but I'm telling you now, leave this Noel girl alone. This is not a good look for you. You're really in over your head, and she's not going to accept you when she finds out what you've been doing behind the scenes. But of course, you can't talk sense to somebody like that, not when he's so very one-minded about what he plans to do. So instead, he goes back over in his Yeonwoo costume to try to be that very best buddy again. I brought you soup because you're not eating. Here, eat this, dear. But before he can really just try to hammer home what an awesome friend he is, he gets a call saying that his mother is taken sick, and he goes to be by his mother's side in his Yeonwoo costume, which I'm surprised that his sister and his dad didn't ask him what's with the weird clothes and the glasses, because he doesn't look like that when he's at home with them ever. But Jungin, she figures it out. And at first, Jae-tae thinks that maybe Jung-un had done something to his mother to land her in the hospital, but that's not the case. If anything, I think that the mother and Jung-un are very similar types of people, women that came from good homes and manipulated the men they loved into being by their side. And I think that they agreed, okay, well, you're going to say that you found me passed out and I'm going to go to the hospital. This is how it's going to work. But Jae-tae leaves the hospital, and while he's outside, Jung-un's like, I told your mother that we should move up our wedding date to their wedding anniversary, so we're going to be married in a month. I don't care if you like this woman or not, you're mine, damn it. And he, of course, is just kind of like, yeah, okay, whatever, because he's off. But I wonder, as the show progresses, is he going to try to extricate himself from Jung-un? Is he going to try to pursue Noel? Because something that Jun-young said to him about, you shouldn't have to have permission to love somebody, Jae-tae really took that to heart. And I think he's going to try to find ways to accept Noel or try to drag her away from Jun-young. But how he's going to reveal his true self to her, that I would be surprised to see. Now let's talk about Daddy Choi. So Daddy Choi, he is not this terrible guy that maybe we assumed he was from the very beginning of the show. And I know a lot of it is because of his appearance and also what he did at the beginning of the series. But we see that he's actually like a really earnest guy. When they're in the board meeting, him and the rest of his political party, he's trying to get one guy booted out of their political party because he has been known for tax evasion and embezzlement. But of course, his old friend, the assemblyman, is up there like, we've all done a little dirt in the past. It's okay. We're all buddies. We help each other out. And, Assemblyman Choi is kind of like, I don't think this is right. But again, he's kind of backed himself into a corner because he's got his own skeletons to keep. He goes to visit Madame Song. Initially, he called Jae-tae to ask Jae-tae to go drinking with him. But Jae-tae said, I'm not going to do it. Mom got mad at me the last time I went drinking with you. But he goes to Madame Song and he sits there and he lets her know, I loved a woman once. You look like her, but I'm not going to cheat on my wife with you. I just want to be in your presence and look at your face. But he's struggling because he loves his wife. He loves his kids. He wants to be a good political person to help people, but he's in a system where he's beholden to people. He's made obligations. He's been tricked into thinking that he owes these people these debts. And because of it, he is now kind of forced to, if not be a bad guy himself, to be a person to turn a blind eye to bad things. And I think maybe a lot of it started with his wife, because his wife, who's in the hospital, she's not really sick. She planned this whole thing. She even tells the doctor to tell her husband that she's sicker than she really is, that he shouldn't do anything to cause her any stress. Again, she's manipulating him. And I think that she's manipulating him because she knows he's going to see Madame Song more and more often. She knows that her own daughter is always always involved with something with Jun-young, which is her husband's own half child, or own illegitimate child. So he's being manipulated by a lot of different people, and because of those manipulations, they've kind of twisted a good man into a bad man, and that's very sad to see. And I wonder if his son Jae-tae is kind of the opposite. Maybe he's a guy who could possibly be a bad guy, but is trying to turn good. But he's in the same boat in terms of the world keeps trying to turn him one way when he's trying to turn himself into another. The mother, we talked about her mechanisms. We talked about Jung-un and how she's kind of manipulating Jae-tae to go ahead and still be by her side, even if it's not a genuine love match. Jik, Noel's brother. He's such a nice little kid, Yeah, he had really rough things to say about his sister, but I understand where he's coming from, because if you had both your mother and your father die while you were really young, you almost saw your sister die from a car accident. Loan sharks have been chasing y'all from pillar to post, taking your possessions, keeping you guys from being able to have a secure, happy life. then your ultimate goal would be just have a steady job, never owe any money to anybody, never do anything to rock the boat, always stay safe. Like, I could see why that would be his opinion, because he lived a life of so much instability and change from the time he was very, very young. But he, doesn't accept Jun Young's bribe. He tries to encourage Jitae to, romance his sister because he feels like they're like-minded. And, he tosses his sister's accuser in a trash can when she was talking shit. So I like him. I just wish that he would not be so incredibly stoic because he is so young. Even his friends at school call him grandpa because he's so conservative. I want him to have some of his youth. And I think that that's going to happen with him when he is... I think him and Haru are probably going to start romancing since they're about the same age. That makes sense. The best friend, Nari, she really didn't have much going on in the show right now. She basically was just like the information person. Like, oh, I saw this on the news. Oh, this is where such and such is at. She's basically, the plot exposition character. So there wasn't much to say about her. And then my favorite character, who is not one of the major characters, the uncle. I call him the uncle even though he's not Jun Young's real uncle. I love the way that he kind of is one of those people who cuts through everybody's shit. When the mom's like, I don't care where you are, I wasn't worried about you. He's like, yes, she was here eating bibimbap, and she's got a sensitive stomach, but that's because she's worried about you. Or when Noel shows up with Jun Young, he's like, how your mom was when she had you. Don't fall for these gold diggers. You saw what happened to my son. I mean, I really like how upfront he is with everything. And it makes me kind of sad because the mother's not giving him any play. And he's apparently loved her for years. And they're just not ever going to get together. But I do admire the fact that he's been a father figure for Jun Young for so long. So that's really awesome. Well, guys, I can feel myself kind of losing my wind here. Like, really, I'm starting to drown in my sinus drainage. But I hope you guys enjoyed this drama review. I hope I didn't sound too incredibly gross, because there were a couple of moments there it was really awful. And I am going to do a review for W. I don't know when I'm going to do it because I was supposed to watch the episodes this weekend, but I was so caught up in my shiny fan meet stuff that I didn't get a chance to do it. But I've been hearing really great things about the plot, and so I am going to do the review for that. Just give me a couple more days to get it posted up. But thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye.